Hi everyone, and welcome to lesson 13, bubble 4. Today we're going to talk about when to provide an else statement. So we did in lesson 11, we did conditionals and we provided an if statement where we wanted our program to do something if something was true. However, we now want it to also do something if something is false. So the else clause is useful when you want the program to do one thing when your conditional is true and a totally different thing or different thing when your condition is false. So we're going to run this program to see a swarm of bees created for you in the flower that's on the left-hand side of the screen. We're going to make the swarm of bees hopefully appear when the mouse is near the flowers or on the left side of the screen. So it's important for us to kind of keep that in mind as we're programming. And then we want to make the swarm of bees disappear when our mouse is away from the flowers or on the right side of the screen. So we're going to look at the example on the right, and this is what we're hoping for. So you'll notice that the bees are the bees are swarming when the mouse, so you'll notice the mouse is moving, is on the left side of the screen. And when we move our mouse away from the flowers or closer to the right side of the screen, the bees disappear. So we're going to look at what exactly we have and what they want us to do. So if I run this, right now the bees are following my mouse. So that's really cool. And so if you haven't taken a look at the code, you can take a look here and look at this draw function, and you'll notice that our B1, 2, and 3, so our 3 bees are following our mouse. And so for each bee, it also has to take into consideration mouse X and mouse Y. So that's something that we really quite haven't talked about a lot. So B1 follows mouse Y and mouse X, so that way it goes both vertically and horizontally with the mouse. And it has a random number between -50 and 50. So that way it's not exactly on top of our mouse, and it kind of gives the illusion like they're flying randomly around. So that's why they appear at different locations every time it runs through the draw function. So that's why you have that -50 and 50. If you wanted it to be less random in terms of from the mouse, it would be a smaller number. So that's why, again, that's why they look like they're appearing in different locations. It's just a range of -50 and 50 where they're flying around that mouse area. So if we want them to be larger, meaning we wanted the randomness of the bee to be flying, you might make it maybe -100 and 100, and then it would give you a broader area around the mouse that the bees would be quote unquote fluttering or animating. Okay, so that's what this program is currently doing. So according to the directions, they want us to add an if-else statement after the code that updates the position of the bees. In the input of the if, use a Boolean to check if the X position of the mouse is on the, I believe, left side of the screen. And then set the visible property of each of the bees inside both the if and else statement to make the bees only show near the flower. So in the draw area, they're just basically being drawn, right? Our bees 1, 2, and 3. And they now want us to create an if statement to see where our mouse is, okay? So I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna go above the draw sprite. So I'm gonna need my if-else statement. This is what's gonna be different than the rest of our programs that we've done. We now have in the control area an if and else. So I need to put that above the draw sprites. Okay, and then they want us to say, hey, if the mouse is on the left-hand side of the screen, we want the bees to appear. Else, we want them to disappear. So we need our world, I believe, and we're just checking the mouse, and we're checking if it's on the left side. So we're only dealing with the X value. We're only dealing with where it is showing on the screen in terms of left and right. So they said, let's see, what did they want? Do they want a certain number? Nope. They just want it to be on the left side of the screen. So again, remember, our screen is 400 pixels across. So we should say if it's less than 200, that's halfway through. So let's go ahead and do world.mouse.x or mouse x. And now we need, I forgot. We need the conditional. So first let's do the math, and we want it to be less than. So that's this gator thing here. And we need to go back to world, and it's going to be mouse x because we're only dealing with left and right. And we're saying when it's less than 200, so when it's closer to the left side than it is to the right, we want our bees to show up. So I'm going to put less than 200. We want our bees to show up. So we are now going to look at something called visible, and I have to find it. I forget where it is. Nope. I think it's in sprites maybe somewhere. There it is, sprite.visible. So this is new too. And basically we're saying, hey, our sprites are on the screen, they're being drawn, but only when it's less than 200, we want them visible. So I'm gonna drag this over. And I am going to say B, my first B I want to be visible. So B1, which is the variable, the first B, correct? Yep, here's B1. B1 is visible, so we want it to be true. Oops, this is B1, sorry. And when it's less than 200, we want it to be true. Else, meaning when it's not less than 200, we want that B1 to be false, meaning we don't want to see it. There. So I'm just doing the first B, and hopefully that works. So I'm going to reset. And there's my B's. Okay. So right now, there's 3 of them. So one of the B's is showing up, right? And then when I move it past the 200 point, closer to 400, you notice the first B disappears. I move it closer to 200 and go less than 200, now I have all 3 B's. I move it away, and now I only have 2 of the B's. So I want to do that for all 3 B's. I want them to show up when it's less than 200 and disappear when it's greater than 200. So I need to find visible again. And I'm going to put that if statement in the first if statement. I need to now change sprite to B2. And I'm going to say when it's true, or sorry, when it's less than 200, B2 is going to be visible. And when it's greater than 200, B2 is going to be invisible. So B2, it's going to be false. And I just like to reset and practice, making sure. So there's all my B's. I disappear. Awesome. 2 of my B's are gone. Move them closer to less than 200. All 3 of them are there. So I'm going to do the same thing now with the last B. So you want all 3 B's to show up when it's less than 200 and to disappear when it's greater than 200. So B3, that's going to be true, meaning it's visible. And when it's greater than 200, we want that to be false, the visibility. And false. Okay, run it again. So again, we're just checking the mouse location, and we're saying when the mouse is less than 200 on the x-axis, we want the B's to show up. So the visibility of all 3 B's are true. Else, meaning if mouse is greater than 200, we want our B visibility to be false, meaning we're not going to see any of the B's. So let's run. There we go. We're less than 200. As I move to the right, there, now my B's disappear. So we're just saying, hey, when it's less than 200, the visibility true, else false. And that is bubble 4.